Why do we do it? We spend countless nights working in the garage. All of our vacation days are spent driving to, from, or on the racetrack. The money involved? We don't even want to think about it. Everybody has their hobbies, but many times in the car world, it's much more than a hobby. Ambition, dedication, passion. These words only scratch the surface. So why? Why do you do it?
It's I think the passion, the people that have the passion for racing, it brings like a family together.
It's what kind of refuels me. You know, some people do yoga to relax.
I have no idea. It's chasing that perfect lap.
Yeah, it's a blast. I mean, it's a rush, and I love it. I love to compete. I love to go fast. So it's something I want to do. Keep doing.
I think the deep reason behind a lot of us racing is just hopefully inspire others to get out and do that and enjoy it.
Whatever it is, but for me, hanging out with car family and hanging out with the cars and just driving, it relaxes me. I love it.
These were the words of a few drivers I followed to the Optima Ultimate Streetcar Invitational in Vegas. The word invitational is key here. All of the drivers at the Ultimate Streetcar Invitational had to earn their invite by winning at an event earlier in the year. Ronnie won his invite in Texas. It was a 2,000-mile road trip from his hometown in Minnesota. Dustin also traveled to Texas from Minnesota in his Evo 10 for his first ever Ultimate Streetcar event. Then he drove to Kentucky and finally Colorado to earn his invite. Brandon won his invite in Vegas earlier in the year. Tone in Michigan, Andy in Kentucky, and Matt, Mike, and Paul all won in Wisconsin. So you might be wondering, what do all these drivers have in common? Well, most all of these guys are driving 4-cylinder all-wheel drive cars. And they are associated with RS Motors and 365 Racing. RS Motors is Ronnie Solomon's shop, based in Burnsville, Minnesota. And 365 Racing is a group known for, racing. 365 days a year. No, really. 365 days a year. Participating in OUSCI and SEMA is not as easy as some people might think. In fact, it can be a logistical nightmare. All these drivers had to find a way to get their car to Vegas and have it in the SEMA show for the entire week prior to the racing event. This is where having a good crew of friends can really come in handy. Most all of the Ultimate Streetcars at SEMA are located in Optima Alley, and this is where they will stay from Monday night to Friday night. If you've ever been to SEMA, you probably know about the parade that takes place at the very end. All of the Ultimate Streetcars get to participate in the parade. I was riding along with Mike in his Subaru STI as the parade route took us out of the SEMA show and over to the SEMA Ignited party. Once we arrived at the SEMA party, the MAV TV crew was waiting and ready to do driver interviews. So after a long week of SEMA activities, it was almost time to get out to the track.
Check this out.
Over 80 cars succeeded in gaining invites to the Ultimate Streetcar event. Saturday's competitive driving events involved an autocross and a speed stop. The 80-car field was split up into two groups, odd number cars and even number cars. This way, both events could be taking place simultaneously. However, this made my life a bit more difficult as it's kind of hard to be in two places at once. Luckily, all the drivers I came to follow were in the same group. Well, except for poor Paul, he was the only one in the odd number group. But for the even number group, autocross was up first. A left and a right autocross course was set up. They were not exact mirror courses, but they were relatively close in design. It was easy to see from the start that the left course was faster than the right. However, many competitors did get lost on the left course on some of their earlier runs, so eventually they added some more pointer cones. The driver's best run from each course was added together to determine the driver's total time and place. For most of the drivers I was following, the autocross turned out to be their best event. In fact, almost 50% of the top 11 drivers were from RS and 365 Racing. It was really a great start to the event. Brandon ended up finishing first, Andy second, Ronnie 8th, Mike 9th, Tone 11th, and Paul 15th. Of course, we didn't actually know that yet, since about only half the field had participated in the autocross. After a brief lunch break, our group moved on to the speed stop. The speed stop is a pretty unique aspect of the Ultimate Streetcar event. Starting from a dead stop, each driver must accelerate as fast as they can, navigating through a curve and a chicane. And finally, they need to stop inside the box of cones. Hitting any of the cones in the box results in a DNF. And this is where the speed stop gets really interesting. Calculating your entry speed to run as fast as you can while still being able to stop inside the box can be quite a challenge. Since we are the second group to run the speed stop, we had a general idea of what times were ran earlier in the session. Again, Team RS and 365 did a great job, taking 50% of the top 6 spots. Andy did the best, taking home 2nd, Brandon 4th, Ronnie 6th, Dustin 12th, Mike 14th, Sean 16th, and Tone 18th. After the speed stop and autocross concluded, the road rally took place. The road rally is basically a simple way to prove that your car is streetable enough to cruise through stop and go traffic and make a 30+ mile round trip without breaking down. Once again, I tagged along with Mike in his STI.
Okay, here.
Thanks.
Okay, see ya.
Cruising the Las Vegas Strip with all these unique cars surrounding you is quite an awesome experience. A checkpoint was even set up in Old Vegas, so we could make our way past Fremont Street, on our way to our final destination, the Carroll Shelby Museum. All in all, it was a pretty cool way to end the first day of competition. After the first day of events concluded, we had a pretty good idea of what needed to happen on day 2. We knew Andy had the best shot in our group to win it all. His biggest competition was the previous year's winner, Danny Pop. Danny finished 1 spot behind Andy in both the autocross and speed stop portion on day 1. Andy knew if he could win the road course on day 2, or at least just finish higher than Danny, he would have a good shot at the overall victory. However, we all knew this would be no easy task. Danny is a great driver, and he is a monster on the road course that is very tough to beat. The morning actually started off with some trouble for Andy, as a wastegate failure was causing him boost troubles. Luckily, there were a couple other evos about, as you can imagine, and Tone Diaz was gracious enough to sit out a lapping session so Andy could use his wastegate. 4 total road course sessions took place. After the first 2 sessions, the current road course standings were Danny 1st, Brandon 2nd, and Andy 3rd. We knew Andy's current 3rd place would not be good enough, and Andy also ran into another issue with his turbo. Luckily, in another gracious act of teamwork, Ronnie stepped up to sacrifice his own track time. And this time it was a race against the clock, as they had a limited time to do a turbo swap before the next session began. Andy was able to make it out just in time for the 3rd session. Despite running his fastest lap, Andy did not move up the ranks. So once the 4th and final session started, we knew Andy had to move up to 2nd place to take the overall victory. As we listened to the lap times come in, we heard Andy ran a new personal best, and it was fast enough to move him past Brandon. However, the celebration was short-lived, as we also heard a GTR had laid down a time fast enough for 2nd place, pushing Andy back down to the 3rd. One last portion of determining the ultimate street car is the design and engineering judging, or D&E. This was by far the weakest area for most of the drivers I followed. Surprisingly, Andy's car actually fared the best, finishing 30th spot. Many other drivers in our crew were not so lucky, taking spots like 55th, 68th, 74th, or even 79th. Now, I'm sure some of the drivers were disappointed with their D&E scores, but I doubt any of them were too surprised. Most all of these drivers got involved in this event for the driving aspect of it. All of their cars are clean and in good shape, but not what everyone would consider a show car. They get driven, they get rock chips, and rain won't keep them from leaving the driveway. So why? Why do we do it? Maybe it's because we don't want to build cars that can't be driven. Because we want to work together as a team and build not only cars but friendships. We want to be competitive and have fun. And sometimes, I think we just feel more connected to the world when we have 4 wheels on the ground and our hands behind the wheel. Hey, thank you so much for watching this behind the scenes video from the 2015 Ultimate Street Car event. To learn more about upcoming Ultimate Streetcar events, you can visit driveusca.com. If you're in the Wisconsin area and want to check out more upcoming Wisconsin automotive events, you can check out the Central Wisconsin Sports Car Club at cwscc.com. And if you want to watch individual driver highlights from each driver at this event, please see the Boosted Films YouTube channel. Boosted Films is also on Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat if you'd like to check us out there. And for Boosted Films, this is Paul Ellertson saying thanks for watching.